Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jim. Going to do a very short review for a 2024 film called Project Dorothy. Project Dorothy has a really high 6.1 star rating on IMDb. And if you follow the channel, I've exposed before um, some movies that come out and then have like these ridiculously high scores on IMDb for ratings. Now, there's only been 4 user reviews. I'm not going to go break down uh, expose things, but there's a couple of ratings that are just absolutely too high. 10 out of 10 is a ridiculous rating for this film because I hated this movie. It is one of Danielle Harris's worst movies ever. And it is all right. Let's start from the top. It's a horror sci-fi thriller. After a botched robbery, 2 men take refuge in a remote and lifeless scientific facility, inadvertently awakening a monster within. Director and writer George Henry Horton. Also, writing credits go to Ryan Sackringe, starring Danielle Harris, Tim dezarn, and George Henry Horton, the writer-director. Man, it's too bad I don't have a lot of good things to say about this. Now, George Henry Horton has a credit, but it's a very small scene in this movie. So while he's the writer-director, he injected himself into a role into the film. There's only 6 cast members. The 2 criminals are Tim dezarn, who does definitely look very familiar. He plays James, and Blake by Adam Boudron. And Danielle Harris plays Dorothy. Yes, Dorothy of Project Dorothy. So you find out what Project Dorothy is when these 2 criminals make their way into this facility. Just very basic premise. Uh, in a remote, lifeless scientific facility. So it's basically an abandoned, humongous warehouse. And Dorothy is the 80s AI security system, and through flashbacks and some kind of like, I don't know how this character was able to get into the computer system to see video. There was video recording of when there was people in the facility working there, and kind of like the backstory of how Dorothy came to be, and what kind of happened back in the day. But um, it's very weak. The premise is very weak. It's not very realistic. These guys, first of all, were able to just open a door with little trouble and get into it, which doesn't make a lot of sense. The police that's chasing those 2 guys gets to the door, and he's radioed to, "Don't go any further. That's a classified location. That is off limits. That's blah blah blah. You can't go in there." So that builds the scare factor, I suppose. Police go away. These 2 guys are in there. One of them had been shot during their escape, and it's just tedious torture, slow build with no Danielle Harris. Now, her voice is fantastic, but the AI, Dorothy, the lines, the sentient communication is just not very believable. Um, they name drop the ARPANET, um, which is the precursor to the internet. Before the internet was the internet, before Al Gore, invented the internet, there was ARPANET, ARPANET, and there was something else too, and they kind of They were the slow build toward the internet as we know it. But this this Dorothy finds out about the new internet, and the premise is Dorothy wants the device from one of the guys, which is their smartphone or whatever, um, and Dorothy wants to use the device to be able to have access to this new internet so she can interface and world domination. I don't know what. Maybe she becomes Skynet. There's really not a lot of like scare factor in this. I don't understand the horror. It's not very thrilling either. Sci-fi I get because we're talking about a sentient AI security system that wants to murder the invaders of the facility, basically by manually operating by remote control forklifts. So we have these chase scenes of these two guys, with forklifts and the raising of the arms and the very dangerous forklifts. So not a lot of scare factors, not a lot of very believability, because if you do choose to watch this and you see how huge this warehouse is that they're in, there's so many places that you could hide from a forklift to save yourself. You could definitely not get caught by the forklift. Anyways, yeah, this movie really, really was horrible. It's Apple. It's on Apple. It's on Prime, and it's on Vudu. I watched it on Prime. Uh, just not really that good. It's probably the first worst of 2024 for me, as this is a 2024 film. It's 80 minutes. If you want to waste some time, check out Project Dorothy on those streaming services. Have a great day.
Row 18, plot 20.